你好, I am Linda's son. This is my Think Aloud reflection for my synchronous online micro-teaching with peers using Adobe Connect. The proficiency level of the lesson is intended for first grade, novice low. The lesson is based on the framework of teacher effectiveness for language learning in the domain of the learning experience. So I used the LE4C, which is here. I use a variety of strategies to make language comprehensible, and I also used LE4E. I frequently check for understanding in a variety of ways throughout the lesson. The lesson I taught was in Chinese, and it was about learning to say different body parts on the face, including eyebrows, eyes, nose, mouth, and ears. Here is my learning target. I can say names of 5 body parts on my face. So what I did was I started with this slide to direct students to say and point after me, and I began with comprehensible input, with numerous inputs, including showing the pictures of body parts and pointing to my own body part on the face. So for example, eyebrow, I will point to the picture and then point to my own eyebrows. And then I also did modeling, and I did pointing, and I showed visual pictures, and I used caretaker speech, which I learned from our classroom training, as the same way as how babies learn language, through a lot of repetition and pointing, modeling, and saying, and with inviting the learner to repeat after me. So as we go through each body part, we do the same sequence of pointing to the picture and my own body part, and then saying it, and then they were shown out of order, like eyebrow, ears, nose, and eyes. They were out of order as well as we progress. And then I would stop to check for understanding. So first I used yes or no method. So I would say, yes, is this a nose or not a nose? And then so the student has to respond, yes, it is a nose. And then later I would go another stage. Now students are invited to say, as they see each picture of the body part, and then point, and then I would follow. So this is the you do part. So if this picture shows, the student has to recognize its eyebrow and say eyebrow, and then point to the eyebrow. One thing I would improve is I should in the future I should take out the pinyin for this part of you do, and so the student cannot see the pinyin and say the word, and so you must just recognize the picture and be able to say the word, the name, say the name of the body part. So what I did during the lesson, the micro teaching lesson, I used the a pen tool, and I blocked out as each slide pops up, and I would block out this right away to cover it up. And then so the learner has to recognize the picture and say the name. So that's something I would change for next time. And also another feedback that I for myself, I noticed I only used one slide per vocabulary, which I learned from our live video conference from Laura Terrell. She mentioned we should use multiple slides for each concept to avoid misconception, and this way we give different ways to see and understand the concept. And what I would do is perhaps I can include the whole face and highlight the body parts, and then also I could show the body part in a context, maybe in a hospital, which like as a doctor is checking the face and then pointing to the body part, and this would make the image more interesting and memorable. And I could introduce culture with some of the images, like the doctor office in China, perhaps, that would show the environment that would make it more memorable for the learners to see. For peer feedback, I got a feedback saying to point out the characters while teaching, which I did not. I ignored the characters, unfortunately. I was mostly focusing on the picture itself and then pointing to the body part. And so, I assume the learner will see the pinyin, and then my focus was not to teach the characters, but the learner said if I point out the characters that associate to the sound of the character, which would make it more memorable visually as well. So next time I would do that, point out to the character also while teaching the body part or teaching the concept. Another feedback from my peer is to create opportunities for students to interact as I provide the check for understanding opportunity occasion. So for instance, the student, perhaps I could use some drawing device like the whiteboard, that as I say the body part, each body part, and then the student could use the whiteboard to draw out the body parts. So I would provide maybe a blank face, and then as I say eyes, then the student can draw out the eyes, and then I say nose, draw out the nose, and then so this provides some hands-on engagement as a teacher is testing for understanding of the concept. So I thought that was a very good comment. One strength of my teaching was I did provide numerous times of checking for understanding. So I had questionings of yes, no, either, or, and I wanted to ensure that students are are understanding and comprehending, and they can respond and demonstrate what they have learned. So I can constantly adjust my teaching as we go. So that is my strength, by providing checking for understanding at various stopping point. My growth, I would say I am still not familiar with Adobe Connect, so I need to practice on it more, to be able to use more tools like polls or whiteboards, or some of the responses that students can provide, like maybe agree, disagree, and provide more of those interactions for students to respond, to make the learning experience more engaging and interesting. So this is my reflection of my lesson. Thank you.